and posting more stuff. So if there is like any major updates, I'll be posting more about that than I usually do. I need to get out of my introvertedness.
I'm going to early take a question from the crowd here from one of the people watching. They asked, have you had any like really funny moments of player feedback in your rooms?
Trying to think. Okay. One of the funniest things I remember really early on when McDonald's was still starting to take off. Like I said, there's a manager. If you interact with them behind the wall, it's just a big Ronald thing. It pushes you, funny, but a lot of things started happening where people accidentally kept getting pushed through the wall. And as a result of that, I decided to make a ladder where they can access the roof because the area that pushed to was just empty space because I made a big play place, but a McDonald's meant for a play place that's like super duper tiny, so it doesn't match up in like the empty room in the very back corner. So empty space. So I had a ladder so people wouldn't get trapped. They can at least get out. So I found that super funny that I just kept hearing about that. Like, no, he pushed me out of bounds. Help, stuck.
That's funny. It reminds me of like trapping people in The Sims. Skull, question, kind of same question for you, which is how do you kind of manage live updates for rooms you've already shipped? So how do you decide what updates to do once you've already shipped a room, and then if you have any like funny player moments that you've heard of where you've gotten feedback and you've changed the room from it?
So about updates, we mostly just add everything content-wise before we publish, like what we want to do. And the only changes we'll do after most of the time is like bugs or balancing changes. Like if we made the game too hard, we'll just quickly tone down the values a little bit or something. With the stories, I think some funny things can happen. Like for example, in Polaroid, after it was launched, we noticed that people were. Wait, I gotta give some context first. So when you get jump scared in Polaroid, you get teleported into a room that uses a Polaroid camera that you print out, with your normal camera to like kind of so you can add some effects to it, like these film. And we noticed after we published the room that people were able to pick up that Polaroid camera and then run around with a giant Polaroid camera in their hand that's has like a scary face on it, which was kind of embarrassing.
That's funny. Cool. Well, thank you. We got Mortimer back here too, so thank goodness you've survived. So Mortimer, if you want to kind of round up the last little bit of the question here, and then we'll go to Q&A. Tell me, how do you decide to what updates to do in rooms after they've already shipped? So how do you kind of decide and choose based on player feedback what you're going to change, and then also if you have just any like funny moments or bugs that you found where you're like, oh man, I really need to change that thing?
Yeah, I think a lot of times we try to stay agile and publish before we've actually finished everything that we want to do. We publish an MVP, a minimum viable product, for the game, and that's basically like playtest mode. Like it's playtesting on steroids. So you get a ton of feedback coming back, and then you already have stuff that you're planning on releasing later. So like while you're doing those other things, you're pulling in the feedback that you're getting from players constantly. So that's kind of our approach to updating games, is like, let's get an MVP out. That MVP ends up being basically the play test, but at scale with lots of people coming in and trying your game. And then while we're doing the new features and upgrading the game, those bits of feedback that players get incorporated in, and we get to see how players are playing the game and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna skip the funny things. My brain's a little scattered from crashing twice. So
No worries. Well, I'm glad you're back in for kind of our last section here. So we're gonna do a 10-minute Q&A section. So I'll be reading the chat. If any of y'all in the audience want to ask some questions, we can ask them to our awesome panelists here. So first question I saw really quick there, which was what did you plan to do when Studio first came out? So did you Studio came out? What was kind of the first thing you did with it? I'll ask that. What was your first test you did with Studio? Man, boss, if you wanna take it, but any one of you can.
Yeah, I got it. So, if
No, you,
sure.
I heard about it and
Yeah,
I was
so
excited for it. That's it.
Mortimer,
I
go and then we'll
mean,
get.
I immediately started like getting everybody caught up on Blender. My goal when we got access to Studio was like, hey, let's just get something out there. It's not going to be good. I knew that it wasn't going to be good. Neon's Den is kind of a mix mash of all sorts of things that we were trying out and everybody was experimenting. Not my favorite looking room. I think we're doing much better now, but like that's kind of what we pushed out to get the feel of the pipeline, this new building experience. So that was the first thing that we did, was very much just let's see what we can do as quickly as possible.
Cool. How about you, man, boss?
when Rec Room Studio was announced, I was like a little girl, like, it's awesome. It was the best thing to ever come out. And like my first thought was like, I want to make like Battlefield in Rec Room. I want to do something big, something that's never been done before. And that was like, I was just amazed with when it came out.
Awesome. Another question from the chat here, and anyone can hop in and answer this. What do y'all think is the hardest part about creating games in Rec Room? Or I want to say good games in Rec Room.
Input
I think
detection.
the hardest part is feeling
Input
when
detection and
it's
performance.
completed.
Motivation to keep going.
Yeah,
All right.
agreed.
Yeah,
What
I want to
what
say
are things
on
you
the
do?
previous question. Can I say something?
Oh, go for it, Skull, please.
Okay, thank you. For me in stereo, like it seems it might be kind of bizarre, but like for us, it's always the hardest part is like coming up with an idea in the first place, which is like one of the most frustrating parts for us when making a game, because like after that it's kind of smooth sailing from there. But you know, for us, that's the hardest part.
Another question from chat here. What's your favorite part about making maps in Rec Room, or rooms, I should say? Go for it, Mortimer. I see that hand up.
Yeah. So I really, I think it's just, Rec Room provides a great place to just get players. I think if you are indie dev, if you're on an indie dev team and you're trying to publish on Steam, just the saturation there is really hard to get noticed. You often have to go the extra mile, like going to conferences and stuff. But in Rec Room, you can make a map, get like hundreds of players in there immediately, and it's just really fun seeing your games come to life with such immediate feedback. That's like my primary motivator. That's what I like about making games in Rec Room the most,
Awesome.
for sure.
Anyone else want to take that one?
Definitely, yeah, just seeing the people's reactions to what I create. And for me personally, I just love building in Rec Room. I just think of something I want to do, and Rec Room gives me the tools, and it's just so easy to just do whatever. If I want to make something, I can make something. And it's how I spend most of my time. I find it relaxing. And I just love it
Awesome.
when other people feel the same way.
I think I might have missed the circuit question that Mortimer, you just answered, I think.
Oh yeah. I'm just answering questions in the chat as I see them.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll kind of ask this question, which is, what do y'all think is the best way to get started with circuits? Like, what's if someone's never used circuits before, what do you recommend the first thing is they do?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I like I advocate for learning by doing. I think like getting a little project, but that's risky to tell people that because you need to know your scope. You need to know like the scope of what you should be doing. So try tackling a problem that's kind of really what you think is really easy. Try tackling something that you think should be easy, and then you will find that it's not so easy, and you will learn a lot by kind of pursuing that idea. So don't try going after a hard thing first when you're just picking up circuits. Pick a project that's kind of what you think is easy, and then you will learn what you don't know yet.
Awesome.